So I'm already paranoid. I'm already exhausted. I haven't been sleeping forever. I'm now on antidepressants and Ambien. I'm distracted from work. There was a promotion I should have been able to get at work. I could not apply, couldn't do it. So it affected the trajectory of my career and my income. It was taking a huge toll on my health, my husband's health. It ultimately imploded our marriage. And then we lost over $500,000 that was unrecoverable.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. So just a few years ago, today's guest, Jocelyn King's life was great. Everything was great. Personally, professionally, her marriage, her kids, finances, career, you name it, everything was going wonderfully until she was targeted by cyber criminals. And not just cyber criminals, flat out criminals who not only took everything from her, but they also managed to break into her home and plant surveillance devices. Could you imagine? She was devastated. Of course, she was devastated. But Jocelyn's also a fighter. She recovered. She rebuilt her life from scratch unbelievably. And now she dedicates her career to helping others avoid the same trap that she fell into, but also helping them work through any desperation or any hardship to positively transform their lives, which is what she had to do. If anyone has the street cred to speak about cyber security, cybercrime, it's Jocelyn King. She went from victim to becoming named as one of the top 10 women in the industry. We are thrilled to have her here to help all of us better understand how we can protect ourselves. Jocelyn, thank you for
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark and Stacy, for having me.
Hey, Jocelyn.
I'm here with my own cyber criminal.
I'm not Stacy today.
Oh.
I'm a cyber criminal.
Okay. You look the part.
That's what I'm
Does
trying.
She look
that's
the,
what
well,
I'm,
let's ask Jocelyn.
It's a
Does
special
she look
day.
the part?
You get to come up with your dark web hacker name then. So you have your alias.
Dark web hacker name.
I like it.
That's okay. I like taking the hoodies off the hackers and
There you
explaining
go.
how hackers work because they're very predictable.
Oh,
And
that
when
is a
people
beautiful
know-
transition.
So once people know how they operate, it's much easier to protect yourself. As with anything, when you know what you're dealing with, it's easier to protect yourself and stay safe.
Yeah.
Well, you should know. You are a top 10 woman in cybersecurity. Am I saying that right?
It's amazing.
Yes.
And you protect people on all 7 continents,
Yes.
including Antarctica.
Antarctica.
You just said. But first, take us through that moment, if you can, with a little background, when you found a microphone over your bed.
Yes. So things had been happening to me and my family, and we knew we were being surveilled. And some people knew where we were going. They knew what we were doing. And it was like, how was this happening? And we knew that they had hacked into our network because one night at midnight, our deadbolts opened. Unbeknownst to us, we're asleep in our beds. But the next day when I get up on my security system, I just notice an alert that says the locks on my office door, which is a separate building, and my home were opened at midnight. And I think we're both asleep. So I go back. Fortunately, we have a motion detector in one part of our home. So if we had gotten up and sleepwalked or done anything like that, that would have been picked up as well. There was nothing. We were in our beds fast asleep, and our deadbolts were opened. I called the security company. I did all these things, and here's the horrible part. Once you're a victim of cybercrime, let's say they they drain your bank account or they do whatever. The secondary part is then trying to get help because you're appealing to, the law enforcement and to the people you're paying money to help protect you, like security systems and things. And you end up filling out reports, and you end up being told, actually being questioned, when I said what had happened, they question whether you really know what's happening or not. And that's kind of compounding this injury, of course, because you're being doubted and you're suddenly like a suspect of whether you're capable and competent and sane. Some of the cyber criminals, they'd gotten past security cameras, and there was a time when people got out of a vehicle and came up, and they should have been detected on our security cameras, and they weren't. Fortunately, I just happened to see them on my monitor, and I manually hit record. When I called the security company and I'm telling them, they said, well, no, they'd be picked up. I said, they weren't. And they said, well, then, are you sure they came? I said, I manually record. I had to have proof to show my own security company why the security wasn't working. And I can't, that's devastating emotionally and mentally when you're already feeling victimized. So I just want to warn people about that because one of the biggest rude awakenings was actually calling law enforcement. And I don't fault our law enforcement at all. But I called, the sheriff and filed a report, and I called the FBI, but nothing came of it because I learned I was one of just shy of 1 million cybercrime reports filed with the FBI that year. 1 million in 1 year. There is no way they can help everybody.
Wow.
After this has been going on for a while, so I'm already paranoid. I'm already exhausted. I haven't been sleeping forever. I'm now on antidepressants and Ambien. I'm distracted from work. There was a promotion I should have been able to get at work. I could not apply, couldn't do it. So it affected the trajectory of my career and my income. It was taking a huge toll on my health, my husband's health. It ultimately imploded our marriage. And then we lost over $500,000 that was unrecoverable. So these things were happening and we're reaching out for help and we're spending money on former law enforcement that are private investigators and cybercrime people. I was having my car swept for surveillance, my house swept for surveillance, and they didn't pick it up. And what it turned out to be, ironically, we had a leak in the roof, we had it fixed, and we had to have some insulation replaced. And in moving the insulation, the microphone that was in our bedroom ceiling popped out. Because they were in the middle of replacing it, I see it in the bedroom and then it disappears because it got sucked up in their vacuum. So then we try to get it and it's mangled and we can't really identify it. And so I'm calling. So and there's no, even if we had had it completely intact, it was a near field communication device, which meant it was from somebody using it when they were in the neighborhood or from a neighbor or something, but they could not, it wouldn't be traceable to anybody. So still nobody's going to get caught. Nobody's going to go to jail and I'm not going to get made whole. And that's the scary truth about the real cost of cybercrime. It's not just the $4,478 that the average, cybercrime incident costs a consumer for a low, a low level incident. It can cost, millions. It's the toll it takes on you and the toll it takes on your life and what it does to making you feel unsafe and unsecure.
How in the world does someone put a microphone in your ceiling without you knowing? Like, how did that happen? Like,
Well, they broke into the house. See, normally what happens with a break-in is you come home and your jewelry drawer is, everything's taken and your valuables are taken and there's things are turned over and your lock has been forced and you call the police and you've been the victim of a burglary. When people break in and they're hacking into your accounts in order to get past your security because your security system sees that it's you doing it. And when they get in to plant surveillance or to do things to get information on you, they don't leave a trace. That's the other devastating part. When I realized that we knew that people knew things they shouldn't know, that we were only talking about in our home. In fact, the reason I had my car swept is because we knew that, okay, people are hearing things and learning things that we're only talking about in our home because we were so paranoid, we weren't talking about it anywhere else. We were talking about it in our bedroom.
which people? Like, how would you? Who?
Well, it can be any number of people who are after you for long haul. They could be after information about you because they want to social engineer you to get into the company you work for, or they could just want your assets. They could want to make you move. They could want to drain your accounts. Maybe you have a relative who has valuables or things that they want, and they want to go through you to socially engineer getting it from them. I've seen so many of these. There's so many ways this can happen. There's a lot of cybercrime that is not that one-time event of they got your credit card number or they got your bank account and they drained your account or they applied for a loan using your credit. There's a lot of cases of these kind of like long haul cybercrime that go on. They don't want to leave a trace. They're intentionally not leaving fingerprints.
So so when you
Mm.
heard something that you only said in your home, where was that? Like, was someone email you and say, "Hey, I've heard that," you know?
No, it's that we went somewhere and some weird things were happening there, and we're like, it's like they knew we were coming here. I was, an executive in a top Silicon Valley company at the time, and I was speaking on stage. So I started getting paranoid. I'm supposed to be posting on social media what I'm doing, and I wasn't. I was waiting till after the events and then posting. Wow, that was a great event because I did not want people to know my whereabouts. I was going back and getting all kinds of self-defense training and stuff because I thought I'm not safe in my home. They could break into my home. When I'm traveling, I may not be safe, right? I was looking over my shoulder all the time. But what happened when you learn that they're doing that, we started then saying, we're just going to talk in my car. The reason I had my car swept for surveillance was we said, we're only talking about these things. And we had some litigation going on. We had some things going on that were also instigators. That's the other thing. If anybody has lawsuits going on, you're much more susceptible to this kind of thing. If you have property deals going on, buying a home, a home or being part of something, or there's a lot of things that you don't think about that could actually be triggers. And I've spoken to so many people who have been in, like somebody who's been in an ongoing litigation for over 10 years. And there are people that they know are somehow associated with the opposing side that occasionally do things to them and prank them and like flatten their tires when they're places that know where they are. And it's just that feeling that you're never safe and that they could get at you anytime they want to is very devastating to your mental health and emotional health.
Let me ask you a couple of quick clarifying questions just for the audience and for me, quite honestly, to make sure I understand sort of the timeline and how this kind of played out. You were first hacked, or let's stick with cybercrime. Somebody got into your system, into your server. This is personal, this is business, or it is both at the same time?
Personal. It had nothing, it really was not business related per se. No.
Got it. So now they're into your accounts and they drain your bank account. They do a lot of things that,
They weren't draining it. They weren't draining it. So this is one of the things, and this goes along with ransomware. This is a form of ransomware before that wasn't the kind we think of where they block your screen, but where people are getting information on you. So here's the thing: the average ransomware attack that happens to an organization, it could be less time. The hackers are in there for 9 months to a year before they trigger the ransomware, and I'll tell you why. They're getting into the systems to get access to the company's information.
Right.
And what they're really looking for is the email correspondence and documents about the cyber insurance of the company. Because if you have cyber insurance that covers you for X amount and you say, and we will pay no more, this is the biggest chess game. They keep doing things undetected. So you're going to work, you're picking up your kids, you're going to the store, you're going to the gym, you're going to soccer, you're going home, all the while this stuff's happening in the background. So usually 9 to 10 months after they get in, they do the ransomware on the company. And guess what the ransom amount is? $5 million. Because the board's already approved. You've only got hours and you pay them and your CFO and team work to get the $5 million into cryptocurrency to pay the bad guys. And you may or may not get the key to unencrypt.
Wow.
So
and even if you unencrypt it, they still have it and can sell that information on the dark web.
Right.
So you're paying for something that's already been replicated.
So just to back it up for someone who doesn't know exactly what it means, ransomware is what?
So ransomware is when you put malware on your phone or your laptop. They'll do that. You think you're on Amazon buying something and there's pop-ups and pop-backs. Very often they'll use a pop-back, which means, when you're closing, you're done shopping and you close and there's this little thing that says you need to upload this or you need to do that. And it looks legitimate and they're using the logos of companies that you're doing business with. So it looks legitimate and you click on it and even if you have a little spidey sense going off and thinking maybe I shouldn't click on this, you click on it, hold your breath a little, it updates, okay, but nothing bad happened. Well, what happened is you just created a tunnel.
Oh no.
Just help them open a door into your laptop and they're going to sit there. My partner did this incredible trick. So I'm not the pure play hacker technologist. I work with them, right? But I've learned so much and I get on the dark web stuff, but I'm a script kiddie, as they call it, a novice. But I work with the serious hackers who help. These are the people who hacked into the government or the Pentagon when they were teenagers and were told, you can come work for us or you can go to prison. And they decided to work for the government and they protected our nuclear submarine codes and they've protected Fortune 100 companies and they protect billions of dollars and trillions of dollars on the Wall Street trading floor. So these are the good guy hackers. And I work with them and one of my partners did this with a journalist. The journalist said, I want you to come at me and try to get in. So he already thinks he's adequately protected. He knows he's going to get hacked by a top hacker. My partner sits down with him and shows him. He says, "I not only got all your passwords to all this." He shows him his, forget social security number, but like the passwords and the actual accounts to all his financials, to everything. Could have drained his accounts had he been a bad guy. And he says, and here, I've been taking a screenshot and a picture of you through your camera on your laptop every 2 minutes, every time you're on. He showed him pictures of him being at his
terrifying.
mom's house. At his mom's
Creepy.
house. He saw pictures of him at Starbucks drinking his latte for 3 days, every 2 minutes.
Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do, Jocelyn?
Is there any hope
I don't feel like
There is. There is hope. There is hope. So if
for
I've
the
scared,
average person at home with their laptop?
yes. So a couple things. And I'm going to scare you with one more thing first.
That's fine. That's fine. Keep
Great.
scaring me.
If you're
We
not
need to be
already
scared.
motivated to take some positive action to protect
Yeah.
yourself, which you can do, you can protect yourself. I'm going to give you one more thing. AI is a powerful tool that's helping cybersecurity companies improve their tools. It is also helping to empower the bad guys. They are all over AI. I'll go in and talk at companies to educate their employees because their IT heads and their security heads put out these mandatory trainings for people to learn how not to click on phishing emails. But you kind of learn how to pass the test more than how to change your behavior. But when I come in and I talk to people and teach them how to protect themselves, if you know how to protect your own emails and not click on phishing, you're now going to be protecting the company, right? So I'll go in and I'll talk. The number of hands that raise that people have had either an actual cyber crime incident or a close call, it's doubled and then it quadrupled, and it's going to 10x in this year with AI. And that's
Wow.
not my personal opinion. That
Right.
is statistically
Just
proven.
happening.
So right now, this
I
month,
hate that.
you can protect taking some steps. You do not want to be the person who takes a knife to a gunfight. So you are a sitting duck and you can change it. You can go from sitting duck to sitting pretty. And I can give you some tips to do that. So first thing, I've been on the dark web and I see that a lot of people are still trying to protect their social security number from getting out or their birth date from getting out and everything. And you've already given it to the world. You have to, what I tell people is I want you to think that your social security number, your birth date, your mother's maiden name, and all that has already been sold on the dark web 1,000 times. You want to protect yourself from it being used against you. Okay. That's a different mindset, but it's really, really going to help you. And with that, because that information's already out there, they can get access to your credit. So if you have not already frozen your credit at all 3 credit bureaus, you go in and do that. And it is not a big deal to unfreeze it. If you go to buy a car, within 6 minutes, you can go into the apps of each of the credit unions, temporarily remove your credit freeze. And just for that afternoon or day, they're going to run the credit check, and then your credit is still frozen.
Right.
A few years ago, it was a pain, it was a
Yeah.
big deal. You had to have the PIN with you that they sent you. No more. So there's no excuse for not freezing your credit. So do that. And while you're at it, go into the .gov site and freeze your social security number from being accessed. If you Google Social Security Administration, you go in, you log into their site. If you have never set up an account, set one up. But if you have one, you log in and you can look for how you freeze your social security number access. Let me give you a statistic. Okay, there are all the organizations and the government organizations that surf the dark web and look for what's on there and the data have estimated that over 300 million American social security numbers are on there or have been on there for sale. And they don't really get removed. You could go into one site and remove it, but it's kind of like, think of like an Excel file or a Word document that's been emailed, 1,000 times. You can delete it off of one computer, but it's sitting out there in lots of places. That's the same thing with the dark web. So over 300 million. There are 333 million Americans. So, your odds of your social security number not being on there are very slim. So just assume it's out there.
Sure.
And you want to protect it. And some people who, of course, are really at risk or have had issues will go in and ask for a new social security number. But it's only a matter of time until that gets on the dark web too, because it's not about how well you protect it. It's the fact that it's in all of these large corporations and government entities that are hacked. The top two areas of cyber attack outside of consumer are small businesses and education, and followed shortly by, of course, medical. So you could do everything you want to protect your social security number, but the college that you went to can be hacked and your social
Right.
security number is out there. So you don't want to be getting a new social security number every year. So just really more try to protect yourself from it. So number one, freeze your credit and your social security number. Number two, you really want to be updating your software on your phone and on your computer. We all log in the morning and says, "Oh, you've got software updates," and people are like, "Oh, I got to get on the meeting. I've got this," and they put it off. What's happening with those? They have security updates in them. So those security updates are protecting you from they're patches for known issues, and you want to update them as quickly as possible because you're protecting yourself. Number three, and which is actually a little more important, is your passwords. Tell me anybody who hasn't heard that they have to have, unique, complex passwords. But most people don't know how to do it. Therefore, they don't take the time to do it, and they don't understand the true risk. The reason your password is so important is hackers do what they call brute force attacks, the spray and pray mode, where they're just literally taking your Yahoo email account and, password 123, 1111. The top 10 passwords that people use still are things that everybody tells you not to use. So please, people, what I'm urging you to do for your own safety, you use a password manager. Very simple to set up. And when you have that, what you do is you let it create a unique password for you for each account. Password managers are your best friend, and especially in
Interesting.
these AI days. So I recommend, and LastPass is great if you have a small business or you have a lot of, or a large business, corporations, because you can have hundreds of users and stuff like that, or just a family. And there are ways you can protect Wi-Fi so that you can be on, like I travel a third of the time and I'm living in hotel rooms and stuff. So I have a little device that I use that plugs in. And sometimes when I don't have it or don't want to plug it in and my cell's not working, I will get on Wi-Fi, but there are certain things I will never do on Wi-Fi, which are about personal PII, personally identifiable information, and and credit card and account logins. I will never log into a retirement account or a bank account. Basically, what you want to do is just get on Amazon and search for portable Wi-Fi/VPN, and you're going to get something. And you're going to be between 60 and 120 bucks.
For our audience, we always talk about, because most we talk to very successful people like yourself now, but when you've gone through an obstacle like that, what was it like to be in the bottom of the trench?
It was horrible. I could not sleep, and I was taking Ambien, and even with Ambien, I wasn't sleeping well, and was still awake. And I was nervous. I was afraid somebody was going to break into my home
Yeah.
and harm me and harm my family. And as somebody who's generally just a happy, peaceful person who wants to just be left alone and live a good life, I was like, is life going to be like this? Do I have to like learn how to use weapons and self-defense so I could protect myself against an MMA level person? Like, is this what life's going to be like for now? And it was horrific. My husband had a series of heart attacks that were undetected and stuff, and had huge health things come about, and almost died. And then had a personality change from the stress and had PTSD, and I had PTSD. And there was a day I woke up and I looked over and I had 1.5 bottles of Ambien next to my bed, and I was thinking, is there a reason to not take it? And then immediately, thank God, I thought, yes, I can't let the bad guys win. I mean, I thought of all the people and the effect it would have on them.
Yeah.
And then I thought, and I'm leaving them vulnerable because I didn't figure out how to take care of myself. And I thought I got to put my oxygen mask on and then help them. Because a lot of people ask, how did you go from that to this? Because I'm very happy and I'm living a wonderful life now, and I feel incredibly blessed and grateful, and I love what I get to do and get to help people. And and they said, but you lost all that money. It's like, well, I'll make more money through one action and another, and then talking to somebody, and they couldn't help me, but they referred me to somebody. That's how I met these wonderful cybersecurity people. Outside of the cybersecurity and IT world, I don't meet people who want to learn it. I want people who just, I want to get this done and over with as quickly as possible so I can
Right.
live my life. And I want to spend as little time as possible on staying current on what's happening and what I need to do. And that's what I'm dedicated to doing for that reason. Who wants to learn this? Here's the other thing. I want to talk for a second about small business, if I can. Small businesses, we don't hear about as much in the news because it's when there's a big breach, like CrowdStrike and stuff, it makes the headlines everywhere for understandable reasons. But small businesses are more targeted than big corporations, and big corporations are able to protect themselves better because small businesses, like I own a small business and you own a small business, and who's your chief information security officer and who's your team and your red team and who's your IT, or
Yeah.
who are the full-time people doing this and who is their 24/7 call center? Well,
Right.
you have that, understandably, and so small businesses are one of the top targets. And unfortunately, 2/3 of small businesses that are targeted go out of business within
Oh,
6
Jesus.
because they can't recover, especially if it's a ransomware attack, because they've lost the information, they've lost client. I worked with a veterinarian who had a wonderful, he was a wonderful man, and he had a wonderful office manager, a woman, both, salt of the earth people. She was dating a guy who had a private life, and she was logged into the veterinarian system at home. She was trying to catch up, on something, and went to take a shower or something. Her screen was not unlocked, was not locked because she's at home on her personal. And while she's in the shower, her boyfriend downloaded all of the client's account information and all of their credit card information. And the reason the veterinarian found out about it is because the FBI came calling, because the one thing that all these cases had in common was that they were clients of him. I've talked to so many who have closed, and people who filed bankruptcy. The ways it affects your life is so expensive and so costly to you financially, emotionally, mentally, and physically. It's just not worth it.
Is there an app right now on our phone that's spying on us?
That's a great question. Here's what I recommend. Most people download apps without paying attention to who the developer is, and where they're from doesn't pinpoint. Just because they're from Central Europe or wherever, you can have a hacker in the Middle East or the Midwest. Most of us have apps on our phone that we're not using that are getting information. Delete all the apps that you're not using, and don't sign up for an app unless you see it as credible and from a known good
know that?
source.
Yeah.
You knew that?
Well, I go through I delete. I go
Well, he
through and
deletes
delete.
everything.
Yeah,
He's
I'm a big
He's
deleter.
a deleter. He's not a hoarder at all, like I am. But did you know that there's like apps that spy? And then our phone is always listening to us, right? It's
100%.
always 100% listening to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apple just
So-
admitted that again. Yeah.
You just have to deal with that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the day. Well, for those of us who are old enough to remember 30 years ago and weren't in diapers, there's a sense of like what being a child was like, of privacy and and
Yeah.
things, and people just didn't know stuff about you that you just have. Every generation gets more and more used to having cameras everywhere and lack of privacy and things. The trick is, besides just the health benefits of not having electromagnetic frequencies on your phone coming out, there's a reason why people put their phones and stuff in another room. Yeah, I have an episode I'm going to be putting out showing of my videos showing some of the spy cam stuff, and
Oh, yeah.
it looks like it's a screw in
It's a camera.
a thing, or it's even in a charge port. I do a lot of traveling. A lot of people ask me, how do I protect myself when I'm in an Airbnb? And here you've got a power outlet to plug into, and the top one's a regular one, but the bottom one is blocked. It's because there's a camera in there. And
How do you
it's-
know? How do you know? How do you see it? Can
Well,
you see it?
first of all, you can't plug anything into it, so that's
Okay.
one detection.
Red flag.
The one thing to detect surveillance on is have the room completely dark. You want complete black, and then you just want to look for any little lights or anything reflective. Take a flashlight or your phone. The light will come back at you. It'll reflect back to you because the lenses all are reflective. And I have worked with people who have had spy cams, in the Airbnb they were at, that were in the smoke detector, in the ceiling and stuff. So.
Can I just FaceTime you next time I go to an Airbnb and we can go through it together? I'm so freaked out right now.
The reason cybersecurity professionals are called paid paranoids is because they are very paranoid 24/7, and they have reason to be.
Yeah. They know.
But even they don't feel 100% protected, and certainly about their families and stuff. So the thing is to just be prepared. If I got hacked somehow, it would be, it's almost like that counting coup. Somebody will say, oh, we hacked her website, or we hacked this, or we hacked that.
Right. We hacked the
But,
cybersecurity,
but at the same
pro.
time, exactly.
It's true.
Who's got the protections? And so a lot of it was like, oh my gosh, I can't go do this kind of work because this could,
Right.
what happens? Well,
You're
here's the
brave right now.
thing.
You're brave.
I'm protected by all these people,
Okay.
right? So
Good.
I'm inside the castle
Back off.
with the fortress walls and more fortress walls and moats and everything and an army. And so if they can get to me, they could certainly get to you. All the more reason for you to protect yourself.
Is there anything new? Like as we're kind of closing out, is there anything new that you want everybody to know to protect themselves? Any something's coming down the pike, like something we should not do?
Really be careful of social media. Here's one thing I will say. In 98% of cases, at least 95, people have a little spidey sense. Their little gut feeling of like, this doesn't seem right. I shouldn't do this.
Right.
And the way cyber criminals work, they get you into panic mode. Our prefrontal cortex is where all our great thinking happens. That's where you and I do our best, most intelligent stuff. We make the right decisions and all that. And then we've got our limbic system, which is the fight or flight mode, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. They get you out of here and into here. And once you're here and your adrenaline's going, you can get back in, but you're only fueling one part of your brain or the other. So once you're in your fight or flight mode, it's harder to get back. The way to do it is to calm down and say, you know what? I know what to do. I remember listening to the interview,
Right.
on Gurus and Game Changers. I remember what to do. I remember, don't, take a beat, because 5 minutes is not going to make a difference. And one of the things that people do, and they get limit, like if you get a text saying it's your bank, or like during the CrowdStrike episode when people were grounded in airplanes, what was happening is they're getting all these, they're posting on social media that they're grounded and this is horrible and all, and then they're getting text messages supposedly from their airline,
Wow.
but it's from hackers who are going, oh, cool.
These people
Hackers love disasters
They suck.
because it gives them an opportunity to get you because you wouldn't normally.
Right.
And so what they do is they're texting, they were saying, we're so sorry, we saw your post, we're sorry, we can get you on, this next flight to so-and-so. And so, but we need, the $100, we just need $100 deposit or whatever. So you do the $100 deposit. In the meantime, you're getting ready to get over to the terminal or get to the airport or whatever. And they're draining your account and you're getting there and finding out there's no such flight. They want you in panic mode. So if you're in panic mode and your spidey senses are going off, going, something doesn't seem right, you need to stop, put it down, ground yourself. What I recommend is you just take several deep breaths and feel your feet on the floor, feel your legs in the chair. What's happening is you're putting yourself in the present moment. So you're getting out of worrying about, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. You try to get yourself out of panic mode, bring your heart rate down, and then think, okay, what should I do? Assume that 10% of your friends' Facebook accounts have been hacked. So if they're asking you for something like, oh my God, I'm stranded in Cancun and I need, could you just, send me 200, but usually it's a small number too. What they really want is access to your account. Do not go through the Facebook Messenger because it's going to, don't go through your Facebook chat to the person because you were talking to the hacker. Your friend's probably not even on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oy.
Right? But
wild.
they look like them. So social engineering is increasing with AI. So that's why
Right.
you have to be more careful and put these protections on your passwords, on your accounts, the things we're talking about. If you do the basic hygiene, you're going to be 10 times safer than you are today.
All
I
right, I'm doing
guarantee
it now.
you,
I know.
you're
I
listening to
took
this
mine too.
podcast, you're a sitting duck in at least one, if not 10 areas. And the bad guys only have to be right once is the mantra we have, right? The bad guys only have to be right once, and you have to do your best to take care of yourself. So you could be really strong in passwords, or yes, I've frozen my credit. But when was the last time you updated your router software?
Ever?
I don't think I've ever done that. Oh my gosh.
Have
Jocelyn.
you ever changed the password, or is it still admin and 1111 or 0000? Once you can see your digital house,
Yeah.
your online house, you can protect it as good as you protect your current house.
Amazing.
I want to help people live safer, better lives. And I want to thank you for having me on so that I
course.
could
You're so
help.
wonderful.
I hope that your audience has gotten some tips out of this that they can use, and we'll use them today. So please, if you're listening, do
Today.
pick one thing you're going to do
Yeah.
and just do it today.
And what's your website again? So they can
Smarter
find you?
online, yes, smarteronlinesafety.com.
SmarterOnlineSafety.com.
You're
Awesome.
amazing. You're so awesome.
you.
I've learned so much today, right?
Thank you.
Haven't
I've
you learned a lot?
I have a to-do list.
But
now.
I feel like it's just we're just digging into the surface of what we need to know, and I'm just more scared. So
Well, I'd
more
say
vigilant.
this scare, you know what this scare is like? This scare is like when you go to the doctor and they're telling you, you're overweight and you're not exercising
Yeah.
and you're cutting
right,
your
have you
life.
been at my doctor's appointment with
Bad
me?
things are coming.
That scare is going to get you to sign up for a gym. That's a good scare. And I
Yeah.
hope that this is a good scare.
Okay.
It's a good scare.
And I will go to the gym. Thank you, Jocelyn.
That was a subtle way of telling you.
Really? It was
I
kind
wasn't speaking to
of
you.
kind of surreptitious, but okay,
That's
fine,
That's how
fine.
we read it. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you
thank
so
you guys
much.
for watching. We'll see you soon. Take care.